it's important to realize that in the beginning, whatever you do, you will be very uncommercial. So today I want to talk about creative outlet and commercial output. I saw this on a comment on Twitter, and someone said, "Is everyone a designer?" And I replied, yes, commercially, no. And I just want to unpack that a little bit because, design is a very wibbly wobbly word, and a lot of people have a lot of versions of it. I think I've got one on this isn't made up. I think I've genuinely got one on my board of sticky tapes. Okay. Design equals preferential change via actions and decisions in a desired direction. Now, that's a pretty good analogy that I use, but let's talk about the commercial output. Now, yes, you can be a designer, you can design your own home, you can design your life, you can design your meals, you can design anything you want. But there is a difference when we start talking about commercial design. And yes, that has to serve a purpose, it has to solve a problem, it has to deliver an outcome, and there has to be, a lot of things involved in it that are, let's say, are not really relevant if you want to design a t-shirt and wear it to a party. Like, go for it. Like, completely and utterly go for it. You should be as creative as you want. There is a lot of stuff in this studio that I don't share on the internet, but it is still technically very design heavy, very design and creative led. But is it commercial? Don't think so. Does that mean that I should try and force it to be commercial? Probably not. Does it mean that if I were to try and take that thing or whatever it is, sketch, drawing, little idea and make it commercial, could it then become commercial? Of course it can. I mean, there are people who are sat in their front room painting watercolors, making millions on TikTok, I'm sure. I'm not saying that it's not a two-way street and things can't transition, but it's important to realize that in the beginning, whatever you do, you will be very uncommercial. It will not be commercial. And if you don't want to work in the commercial industry, that is fine. But, I like the business of creativity. I feel like the design world connects the art world to the business world. And that kind of, we are like Jean-Claude Van Damme on the advert where he does the splits and the vans are separating. Trucks, sorry. I think that we kind of broker those two deals. And I just think because you're not a designer unless you're into craft or you're scribbling, you're probably drawing things when you're a kid, you were probably drawing letters or drawing the Beano I'm aging myself saying that, drawing Metallica logos or like your favorite band logos or doing anything, it doesn't matter. And you were led to that idea because you like the craft and you like the design. And then there comes a time when you either go to university, I'm not saying you need to go to university, or you go into some version of a learning state. People talk on the internet about there's an earning period and a learning period, right? Well, I think that if you've never spent time learning, then you're never going to be able to immediately earn. And that's quite an important differentiation to make. I went to art school at 17, I'm 35. I went to art school left school, comprehensive academic school, at 16, went to art school, did 2 years at art school where you study, it's called an ND, National Diploma in Art and Design, where they teach you everything, fashion, like a little bit of everything. We did glasswork, metalwork, DT, wood, illustration, painting, fine art, graphic design. I specialized in graphic design, did a foundation level, so that's like a third top-up year. And then I went to university for 3 years, did just pure graphic design, graduated when I was 21, went to London, did 6 months of internships, some paid, some not. And then I got a job, stayed at the job for 5 years, left the job just because I began as a junior, left as a senior, wanted to do a bit of traveling, came back, been freelance for 8 years. There have been many times in that career where I've had to do more of a learning thing than an earning thing. And I'm not the first person to say this concept, but there were definitely times when I wanted to do things that were really, for want of a better phrase, like uncommercial, and they didn't work. And I also approached them with because I knew how to be commercial. at certain points in that career. At some points, that's why when I was a junior, I had to learn everything, and I fucked up a hell of a lot of work, and increased budgets, increased delivery times by a lot because I didn't know what I was doing and I was learning. And that's why you don't get put on the big, massive jobs when you're just starting out. But when you get a little bit of a business acumen or design acumen or experience under your belt, suddenly then when everything you look at, you start to think, right, what's the commercial idea? What can I do with this? Okay, fuck. I just drew this one thing. I can turn this into a brand. I can do a course. It's probably a bit shiny object syndrome and a bit squirrel mentality. It's like, squirrel, this, that. Opportunity obsessed. But at the same time, I think also any of those things could work in and of itself as a creative execution, but they don't necessarily have a commercial, they're not commercially viable, to use a big boring term. So if you're in the creative world and you are, you're doing things and you're struggling to find, you're struggling to define like, what am I good at or what am I doing? I think you can divvy up, for instance, if you like design, you can divvy up a few things. Not all of it has to be in your offer. You don't have to do all of it. I do a lot of branding now, mostly branding, creative strategy, but I still take on jobs where I'm just doing a little bit of rollout. So I'm doing social stuff, or I'm doing guidelines, or I'm taking the guidelines that have come from the agency and I'm just executing it. Or there's a campaign and they just want to iterate on the idea. The planning team have done it and they just want to have a little bit of a look and feel, or they want to make the copy look nice to sell into a meeting. Or I'll do a pitch document where I literally come in and just help somebody take a Word document and some creative and then make it look nice. Like, these things are really commercial things. But what I really love doing is like workshops and getting into the nitty gritty and talking about ideas and doing this and doing that. And like, what about this? What about that? Oh, have you thought about doing that? That isn't always very commercial. Like, it's very helpful if you're sat at dinner with a mate. I mean, I would love to turn workshops into a business. And of course, I know that they exist in the world, but like, that offer, it's not what I've optimized for currently right now. So I'd have to essentially start again and do that and slowly work through that. And I'm well up for doing that. Hence, some of these videos are sort of me trying to scratch that itch about helping people with their brand and doing some workshops and stuff. Just, I don't want to build a course or anything. I just want to I just like talking about ideas. And this is a specific idea that I liked talking about, the difference between having a creative outlet and a commercial output. And I think that's problem solving. And you might have to ask yourself a few questions to find out what you can offer the market and what stuff you want to withhold because you just want to, draw for the sake of drawing. You don't want to have to put it on Instagram for the likes, or you don't want to have to try and turn it into a print or put it on an Etsy store or build a whole Shopify store around it to then turn it into an e-com business and then drive traffic to it. It's a lot of work sometimes, just when you could have, in and of itself, you could have just enjoyed drawing for an evening, or enjoyed making a little thing, or enjoyed writing a short story or a poem for yourself. Like, okay, what have I done? I've done a lot of writing in my time commercially. I can do a lot of copywriting. I know I've got the proof and the evidence for that. But in my spare time, like I've written a couple of plays. I entered them into a competition. I didn't win. Spent a good couple of months writing it. Literally took time off work to write it, add it. There's a theatre in London called Soho Theatre. And it was like first drafts. I can't remember the name of the prize, but I submitted it, didn't win. Reading it back now, was it good? Probably not. Could it have been good? Yeah, fine. Am I a playwright? I don't know. I've not given myself enough time to really call myself one. I've written quite a lot of little poems or short little prose or aphorisms type thing that what did I do? I think I sent them to the Paris Review. I got rejected from that. I really like drawing little cartoons. I've got little sketches. I've sent a couple of them to the New Yorker. I've been rejected. Like, there are loads of things where, I like that I've pressed, I like that I've tried to do things, but at the same time, like, I don't know. Now when I read some of those things, or I look back, I think if I just done it for me, I'd like them now. I maybe have a bit of a bad taste in some of the stuff. Whereas when it is specifically commercial and you're doing it for someone else, there's like a separation between like Tristan job hat, Tristan my creative hats that I have learned to be very commercial, and over here, and there's like almost a little protection bubble where it's part and parcel that people are going to have feedback because I'm working for someone. I'm helping build somebody else's idea or somebody else's dream. Whereas some of my sketchbook stuff, I've got drawers and drawers of sketchbooks. Yeah, I don't know if that got critiqued, or if that got analyzed with the same commercial lens that I analyze my corporate work. I'd be a bit upset, I think. I guess it's not that good, and that's fine. And yeah, so I'd be careful what creative you do that you try and make commercial, because maybe it wasn't made to be commercial, and that is okay.